So today for our day 7 of 10,000 steps, the road is the same as the one we took yesterday's, but my thoughts are different. So today I walk carrying memories of high school, the early mornings, the late nights, the longing for home, the lives of children, many children whose lives have been lost due to school tragedies. So as I walk forward, I reflect upon this question. Is education worth it if it comes at the cost of your child's safety, if it comes at the cost of your child's peace, if it comes at the cost of your child's happiness? So today I'm going to talk about high school experiences and examples of high school experiences that I think education is not worth it if it comes at the cost of your child's happiness, if it comes at the cost of your child's safety and happiness. Because I'm a product of the Kenyan high school's boarding system. Mostly we're going to talk about the Kenyan high school boarding system, which is terrifying and horrific and full of bad experiences. So I think, according to my perspective, I think a child's safety is more important, and happiness and peace of mind is more important than the education. That's my perspective as someone who went through the Kenyan education boarding school. So I think, according to my perspective, people should not come at me at this for speaking my mind. But according to my perspective is that I think it's high time that the boarding schools are abolished. The boarding school structure is just torn off, just dismantled, because it's so traumatizing. And
Hello.
Hi. And I think that it's just that nobody wants to talk about it, because let's take an example of what happened to Utumishi girls, the recent case I can give. There are many examples of schools that have been burnt over the last 20 years, many examples of schools. So I'll mention the Utumishi girls because it was the recent one for last week. So I think I don't put the blame on the students, either the parents or the school, or I'll put my fault on the education system and the government, because it's just high time we remove these structures, because those schools, I think boarding schools, according to my knowledge, because I was born and found that the boarding schools were there. That was way back in around 2000. So I think it's high time that, because I think it was the colonial structure, the British system. So I think it's high time they get abolished and we remain with the day schools, because it's costing a lot of lives. Let's take example to Michi girls, where 16 lives were taken in a fire. Let's take an example of Endarasi. Let's take an example of Moi. There are a lot of schools that have been burnt, a lot of lives that have been lost due to this education system. And I know that many Kenyans will come at me at saying that the boarding schools should be abolished, but it's high time those boarding schools are abolished, because they're doing more destruction than good. Because let's say for me, I finished high school a few years back, and I'm okay. People think I'm okay, but a lot of us are walking outside here with high school tremors, a lot of fears that those schools gave us. I can give an example. I can remember, it comes to my mind, the fact that when it was usually day one of opening, yeah, we have come in with our shopping and everything. It was like we used to, and then our school was a bit in the interior part, so we used to use motorbikes. So when we get to the gate for the checking and what have you, then you meet your friend and you're like, we are back to prison. Yeah, so because these schools feel like prison, because they are so traumatizing. As far as we have come out nurtured, we have been given education, we have been molded to fit into the society. But I think nobody's talking about the traumas that we face in these schools. Nobody's talking about the abuses we go through in these schools. Nobody's talking about the memories, the bad memories that will be engraved in our hearts for the rest of our lives because of these schools. So, yeah, I think it's a bad, just a bad system. So, who will I shift the blame to whatever is happening across the schools in Kenya? Number one, the government. Yeah, I know, the government. The government should abolish this system where there are national schools, there are county schools, there are extra county schools, there are sub-county schools. It should just abolish this school. Tell me where the need will be if for a parent to take a child all across the country, where if we had a Mangu school in all the counties, an Alliance High School in all the counties, a Kenya High School in all the counties across Kenya. Tell me where the need would be for a parent. Oh God, can't wait for me to buy my own car. This is so bad. Oh, yeah, as I was saying, this time round I'll have to die often. As I was saying, where would the need be if for a parent to take a child all across the country, for them to get education in Nairobi, if we had a Nairobi school across all the counties, if the government had built better schools with better structures, with able equipment in a county schools, the same equipment that were in a national school, what would be the need for a parent to take a child all the way from let's say from here I'm in Migori, from Migori to Nairobi, all that distance just to attend Nairobi school? It's because the structures in Nairobi schools are not the structures in a local school here in Migori. So the government should work upon eliminating these classes, the national schools, the county schools. They should work to eliminate these things, because we are now more civilized. I think it's high time we get rid of this stupidity, this inferior thing of other schools are better than other schools. So tell me, if boarding schools were abolished, if all schools had the same equipment as the other schools, if all schools were given the same opportunities, the same teacher, the same equipment, the same infrastructure as the schools, as these other schools, tell me where would the need be for a parent to take a child all across the country, for the child to die in a different county? There would be no need. So the government should work upon these things to provide every school with the same equipment, infrastructure, everything the same, so that we can get rid of this thing. Shift number 2, I blame the parents. A parent once, I'll give an example of myself. I was born and raised up in Kisii County. So my dad believed that schools in Luo land, it's not actually his only belief, it's a belief of many people, that schools in Luo land are better than schools in Kisii. So I was called to a small school in Kisii County. They said no. They took me to a school in Luo land. Yeah, I don't deny it was good. I don't deny. But this belief in the parents that these schools are better than the other ones, this is created because of the classes I've talked about. So I think children who are in day schools, students who are in day schools, I think they are better than students who are in boarding schools, because the boarding schools are frustrating, they are tormenting, they are just, only God knows. I don't even have a term I can use for those schools. They are just literal prisons, as we used to say on our first day, like, yeah, we are back to prisons. Those schools feel like prison. So imagine a child where a day school child who comes back home, who is taken to school in the morning, has breakfast. The only thing the school caters for is maybe the tea break and the lunch, and then the child has to come back home for supper. Eats well, gets enough sleep. Yeah, you have to read, maybe, for example, I don't know, every house has its own structure on how, a different rule on when children come back home and how they should conduct themselves. I think that child is better off than a child in boarding school. I'll give an example of myself. In our school, we used to wake up by 3 in the morning so that I can look for water bed, so that by 4 I'm in class. Yeah, by 4 in the morning I'm in class. And I'll go to sleep at 11. So go back to sleep at 11, polish my shoes, arrange my uniforms for the next day. So by the time I'm sleeping, it's around 10:30 there or 12, because sometimes, as I was talking on part 1 of our class teacher, it was sometimes she used to make us stay in class for long hours. So sometimes we don't even have time to wash and do those other things. So sometimes you find that you have to wash at that time of the night so that you can have clean uniforms to wear the next day to class. So tell me, you don't have water. So at that, you have come from class at 11. You have to polish your shoes, go look for water. As far as my parents used to say, schools in Lowland, but we know some of the schools in Lowland, there is no water. So we had to take time, move tank from tank to look for water so that I can wash. By the time I'm done washing, it's 12. Then I go to sleep. Then at exactly 3, I'm up again, running with the same schedule on a daily basis. It's tormenting. It's hard. So tell me, a child like me who was in boarding school, every time I used to come back to holiday, I did not want to go back, because I used to remember the tremors of waking up. And then number 3, I'll go to the teachers. The teachers in boarding schools, I don't know, not all of them, but some of them are so discouraging, so tormenting. For example, my class teacher. Yes, parents say, yeah, you go to boarding schools, you get the opportunity to talk to your parents. We never got even the opportunity to talk to our parents, because she never wanted us. So it was this rule, like, you can ask any teacher for a phone to call to your parents. She said never to get a phone from a different teacher apart from her. If she finds you, she punishes you. So you can't even talk to your parents. So she usually gave us maybe a phone once, where you had to communicate with your parents in 2 minutes. If your parent doesn't answer the phone, you never get the opportunity, because you don't call twice. You don't get the opportunity to talk even to your parents. Now imagine the frustrating. You are frustrated by the system. You are frustrated by the teachers. You can't even talk to your parents, because we had to stay in school for 8 weeks, then we get an half term. So imagine, for all those weeks, 8 weeks, she gave you one opportunity to call your parents. Your parents didn't answer the phone, so you have to stay all those weeks. And then she says, you can come with me with any problem you have. And then you go to her and say, you tell her, you don't have pocket money, you tell her, tell my mother to send me pocket money. And she's like, I don't know what was frustrating some teachers, actually. Their attitude levels were so high. Anyway, that was not the thing. Though these teachers are abusive. They are abusive. That's the first thing. They are the ones who are tormenting this. A teacher comes to school with her own problems from her house, and then now, that is an example of my teacher, and now wants to remove these frustrations. I think 90% of these teachers are married. They want to remove her marriage frustrations on the students. So she just comes in moody attitude, and then she's like, So tell me, if you have been frustrated by waking up in the morning, and that in the morning you have to run to class. Maybe you woke up really late and you have been beaten at that. You have been punished at 4 in the morning, tell me, to maybe mop like 5 dormitories, something like that. Because, yeah, that used to happen. So, because if you're a group of like 4 5 students, you'll be told they're like to mop the dormitories and what have you. So tell me, you have mopped the dormitories. She comes with her attitude, thinking that she's better, and then oh God, I lose it in the process. So she has to remove her frustrations on you. You are frustrated with assignments. You are frustrated with punishments. The food is terrible. You can't even talk to your parents freely. You can't even... adding, you don't have money because schools like ours, you have to cater for your breakfast and maybe tea break. The lunch is terrible, maybe. It's not even maybe. The food in boarding schools are terrible. 100%, 110% they are terrible. Dinner is terrible. Sometimes you get late, you miss food. So tell me, how will you not blame the students for being frustrated with these systems and banning schools? So far, I've not seen a day school that has been banned or something like that. It's only boarding schools. Why? Because these students are tormented. They are frustrated by this system. They are frustrated, and they have no one to listen to. As far as we say we have guidance and counseling. We used to have guidance and counseling in our school, especially, but there's no single day I stepped there because this woman who in guidance and counseling, she was she was among the teachers who used to be feared most in the school. And you're told like, oh, Madam B, no, let me just stay with my problem. So you can't go to them and express your problems like, I have this and that frustration. So you tend to bottle it up. So in our school, this is how, it's not once, it's not twice that students wanted to riot and ban schools. Actually, that's across all schools. Even where I was, the students wanted to ban schools, not once, not twice. But how the teachers handled after hearing the news that you want to ban schools, so there's supposed to be a riot and what have you. Number one, you are beaten like all teachers in the staff. And then second one, punishment. Now, a woman like the one we had, our class teacher, she would tell you, let's say you're a group of 5, you'll be the one cleaning the class for the rest of the month. Then number 3, not number 6 actually. Then number 3, you'll be the one. Would be no punishments from those other teachers. Would be like from the school punishment. Maybe you'll be told like to mop the dormitories, finish mopping the dormitories, weed the flowers, finish weeding the flowers. Wow. Hi. Finish weeding these flowers. Mind you, we started doing these punishments, mopping, like we had like 20 dormitories in the school. Mop them, wipe the windows, spread beds for those who didn't spread their beds, take out all the basins, start weeding flowers, uproot things from them. And then the next day you'll be given like a punishment for the whole week. Those not including like you have to be told like every day at 4 you have to go for mass cleaning, something of the sort. So something of the sort. What makes me laugh is I remember our chemistry teacher used to beat us so much. So now there's this friend of mine. A few months ago we were together, and then she reminds me like, Mary, do you remember Mr. So and so? Yeah, I'm like, yeah. And then, do you remember how he used to beat us? And then she said that this time she went to the bathroom to bathe, and then she was so beaten up until now all students in the bathroom were concentrating on how she how she was how she had been beaten up with marks everywhere. And then she just had to hurry up and get out of the bathroom because it was so embarrassing. No, so you have to be beaten the whole week, mind you. Instead of them asking what was the problem, why did you want to strike, why did you want, and acting upon it, they punish you like it's not, what your opinion doesn't matter. Their opinions is their teachers is what matters. Fuck those teachers in high school. So I think the frustration is all across from the government, from the parents to the teachers. But we cannot forget the students. The students also should not act. But if they don't act, how will they be heard? It's also frustrating. But it was such a bad thing, for example, the Tumishi girls issue, for them to ban other students inside, because so they must be held accountable for their actions. They must be held, those who have been arrested and whatnot, they should be held accountable for their actions and what they did, because it was bad. It is bad. Imagine a parent who had one child, and you take the child all across the country to get education, and they just die all across the country because of the frustration of the students, with the frustration caused by the system, which the system never listens to the students. So I think the blame is all across. And it would be like if you tell your parents that I don't want to go to boarding school in a Kenyan home or in an African home, my God, you'll be killed. Can give an example of myself. If I say like I don't want to go to a boarding school, I would have been murdered. Because nobody will listen to you. Nobody will listen to your frustration. Nobody will listen to what you are going through in that school. So, yeah, I think, but it's bad. The students who did that to me, they should be held accountable, because a lot of girls died. Their dreams, a lot of dreams vanished like just in one night. So, yeah, it is bad. So as I'm still working, I'm still reflecting on the fact that how many children still have to die, how many children have to go to sleep with uncertainties that they'll never wake up, because I know that's what's going through many of the students in boarding schools right now. They have the fear like, what if I also sleep and I never wake up? Because that's real, that's the trauma in boarding schools. That's the trauma we used to go through when we usually went to boarding schools, and we hear a rumor of there might be a strike, and there with a strike sometimes they can set fire, they can ranch, they can do what have you. You never know. But sometimes there was this rumor like some students want to ban the school. So we used to sleep with this uncertainty that the fire might start at any moment. So I know that's what's running through most of these students in schools. They have the fear. As far as they are being assured, nothing will happen bad. We have the guidance and counseling. If you have an issue, you can go together and fuck those guidance and counseling things. And then, I'm sorry, it's just so frustrating. So I'm wondering how many students have to die in their sleep, how many students have to lose their lives, how many parents have to lose their children in order for that the Kenyan education system, where the government can see like it's high time for us to abolish this boarding school, because it's very clear from these students that they don't want to be in these structures because they are banning schools, they are rioting, they are doing several things that are showing that they don't want to be in these structures anymore. So yeah, I think it's high time these structures are abolished, just because they have been running all the way from the God. I think from tomorrow I'll start walking with a mask, because this is bad. I will end up with a flu that will never end. So it's very clear that these students don't want to be in these structures anymore. Even me, I never wanted to be in those structures because they are traumatizing. There's no growth happening in those infrastructure wherever they are. It's just, it builds up anxiety, it builds up stress, it builds up longing. Every time you just wake up and like, every time it's home time, all boarding school students are like, they're happy because they'll go back home, they'll eat better. So these are clear signs that these students don't want to be in these institutions, and these institutions have been running all the way from the colonial time. I think for Kenya, it's since the British are the ones who put up these boarding structure things. So I think with the age of globalization, with the end of colonization, I think it's high time that these structures end, because they are causing a lot of harm more than good. So today, as we end our walk, because our walk is almost over, we are already at 8,000 steps. We are almost finishing our walk for the day. So it leaves me reflecting still that maybe one way or the other, at one point in life, I would have also died if those students who were planning for strikes back in our school weren't discovered, punished, beaten to almost an extent where we used to have these hall bathrooms where beaten to an extent where they can't even bathe in those hall bathrooms, where they had to wake up early to bathe because of the torture they were done into, because it was serious. So if they weren't given those punishments, if they weren't taken to sleep at the sanatorium with the matrons so that they cannot burn the school, if they were not denied food so that they can eat later after the other students have eaten, if they weren't told to plow the agriculture farms around 2 acres of land on a daily basis for a week, maybe at one extent also those fires would have been lit and I would have died in one of them, which leaves me every time when I open my TikTok and I come across a video from Mutumishi High School. It leaves me feeling bad. It leaves me feeling devastated. It leaves me feeling, really bad, because some of these students have survived these traumas all the way from Form 1 to Form 3 in order for them to get to Form 3 and just die there. There have been many dreams that have been shattered in the process, but we just hope that they rest in peace. So as we were reflecting on is education, our question today for our walk was, is education more important than your child's safety, happiness and peace? For me, I would say no, education is not important, because as someone who went through the Kenyan education system, I swear I will never let my child go to a boarding school. I swear on God. Seriously, I will never let my child go to a Kenyan education boarding schools, because those institutions are traumatizing. And those of us who went through those education systems, we get the pain of going through those institutions that is so bad that you have to die after going through that trauma. I remember this one day when I say it's traumatizing. So imagine you come from a poor background where your parents, you are not given frequent pocket money, like maybe a lot of pocket money, so you are given like 500 shillings. In a school like ours, you can't survive with 500 shillings. So I remember this day when we went to pick food from the kitchen. I remember very well it was ugali and kales. So those of us who went to pick the kales, I picked the veggies for my group because we were scheduled in groups. So I picked the veggies, and when I look inside, there's a snail, a little snail inside. No abuse to other cultures. Yeah, they eat the snails, but where how I'm raised, we don't do that. So I just lost my appetite like that. I couldn't eat any longer because yuck, how can I eat? So there were two of us in our group who went to pick the food. So we just brought the food, others served, and then we lied like we can't eat. So we just gave the others all the food to eat. We just didn't tell them there was lots because nobody would have ate the food. So we just had to lie like we don't feel like eating, so I just gave the food to the rest of the members to eat, and we didn't eat. So imagine in in a structure like ours where you had to buy your own breakfast. If you don't have money, you have to take the strong tea without sugar. Then came tea break. Sometimes we were given bread or not, so we have to like, maybe that day you didn't have bread, and then maybe you ate lunch, and then at dinner you can't eat because of the stress, so you have to go to bed hungry. Sometimes you don't have money to buy those other things. So yeah, it was a bit devastating. That's why it feels bad to see those students die and burn in those fires when we look at the CCTV footages. So today we end our walk at 8,600 steps. Just feel tired, I can't push myself any longer. And we are home, so I can't go all the way back around again. So the good thing is that we showed up for our day 7 of 10,000 steps in the village. Yeah, so but our topic today leaves me with a lot of questions, a lot of awakened traumas, and a lot of reflection, and a lot of things that can't all be spoken aloud. But what can we do? We just leave our fate in the hands of God. So yeah, I know many people will come at me saying like, no, the boarding school they should be abolished. I'm saying they should be abolished. Listen to me. Okay, but jokes aside, it's just my perspective. I think the boarding system is, I think it's currently doing more harm than good. So I think, yeah, I thought of abolishing those systems. I think it's high time that's to be considered, so that a lot of lives can be saved, because over around like 20 years we have lost a lot of lives, a lot of children, a lot of young dreams, a lot of optimistic students, a lot of people who had many dreams, a lot of children who had dreams of being the saviors of their families. A lot of parents have been left devastating. So yeah, I think it's high time that the government considers abolishing those institutions, so that maybe we try this other way, or a better suggestion to be told, because we are losing a lot of lives in those institutions. So yeah, that was my perspective for today. Other people have their own perspectives. We are allowed to speak our minds and our perspectives. So we end our walk at 8,700 steps. So until tomorrow, ciao.